1, Nelson Mandela. 2, John the Baptist. 3, you and me. Number 1, Nelson Mandela. People who know me know that I love observing wildlife. I delight in my time in nature looking for coyotes and opossums and skunks and raccoons and hawks. So you can imagine how excited I was years ago when some of my priest buddies and I decided to head to South Africa for a safari. Now, the group decision was that after we landed in South Africa, before the safari, we would first take a boat trip to Robben Island, where Nelson Mandela had been imprisoned. He was imprisoned for speaking about the horrific injustices and racism of the system called apartheid. Now, quite honestly, I wasn't so excited about the first part because I just so wanted to get to the safari. And the safari was amazing. But the trip to Robben Island was more important. It affected me deeply. Hopefully you know the story of Nelson Mandela, who for years fought the injustices of that system, and for doing so, he spent 27 years in captivity, 18 of them in a small prison cell on that island. And the tours were given by other former prisoners, some of whom who had been imprisoned with him. And they told us that whenever a new group of prisoners arrived, big, burly, white guards would say, "You will die here." Only every 6 months were they allowed one visitor, and for just 30 minutes, and only every 6 months were they allowed one letter. Everything about the system was designed to humiliate and punish black leaders who had had the audacity to speak up for equality with whites. And as Nelson Mandela looks out from his jail cells, and I held those bars myself, how does he keep the dream alive? The dream of how it could be, how it should be, when he sees so much of it crumbling before his eyes. There, for 18 years, he looks out of his prison cell, trying to keep hope alive. That's Nelson Mandela. Number 2, John the Baptist. Like Nelson Mandela, John the Baptist had staked his life on a vision of what was meant to be. He proclaimed the coming kingdom of the Messiah as best as he could understand it, who would come to wipe away the current age and bring about a new reign of righteousness, of justice, and peace. Today we hear of John the Baptist also in his prison cell, awaiting death. And through the prison bars, the dream just doesn't look so great. And he wonders about this Jesus. And he sends messengers to Jesus. "Are you really the one?" And Jesus sends back the message, "Do you see? The lame are healed. The blind see. The deaf hear." But John thinks, why aren't all the lame healed? Why don't all the deaf hear? Why don't all the blind see? And if he really is the one, what am I doing in here? And John the Baptist looks out through the prison bars of his small cell, trying to keep hope alive. That's John the Baptist. And that brings us to number 3, you and me. Those two, looking out of their jail cells, confront the question that visits every person of faith on our journey. We look out the world from our vantage point, and like them, we wonder how we reconcile the wonderful promises of God and the messy, painful reality of this world and our lives. How do we believe in a God whose kingdom is kind of here, but not yet fully here? Yes, there is so much that is good, but there is so much that is not. And how do we live in that place in between? Do you ever wonder that? I mean, do you ever get discouraged by what is not yet? Let me just offer 2 of the things that I think can help us live in that in-between place. First, number 1, we learn to see and celebrate the blessings already here, the love and goodness woven into the mix of it all already. Not someday, not someplace, but now. Even now, here, love is alive. In the ordinary, imperfect, painful, messy days of our lives, God is with us. Jesus tells us the kingdom of heaven is at hand, not out there sometime, someplace. It is in our own kitchens and classrooms and carpools that love is alive. And that one of our temptations, like for John, is to have it all scripted for Jesus. This is how you come, and God, this is how you look. Yet God so often comes in ways we don't expect that we miss what is the goodness and blessings and love woven into the painful mix of it all. So without denying the suffering and all that is far from what is meant to be, you and I, we need to practice seeing what is good and holy woven into the mix of it all. Can we learn to recognize the ordinary miracles, the simple blessings woven into a typically messy and sometimes painful day? And the other thing, part 2, is we do what we can to work on the not yet portion. There's something about just trying to do our little piece that not only makes a difference out there, but I believe truly makes a difference in here. You and I are meant to be part of the effort to bring about that reign, that kingdom that Jesus proclaimed. We never will end all suffering and change the world as dramatically as it needs, but we can and must do our part. And sometimes, even when it seems like we are looking through the prison bars of our own life's struggles, trying to hold on to hope, we still just do what little bit we can. And sometimes love visits us in our own prison cells and in surprising ways, and our hope is sustained. One brief personal example of that recently. As some of you know, my niece, Jessie, funny, talented, whip smart, has autoimmune diseases that cause her core muscles to spasm so violently that they have on more than one occasion ruptured her spine. She went in last Friday for her 9th surgery in 6 years. And I asked the kids at our all-school mass that morning to pray for her. At dismissal, I was happy to announce over the PA system at school to all of our kids that Jussie had come through surgery okay. And I heard the most amazing thing. I heard kids cheering down the hallway at that news, and it made me cry. Love was there. And when I told Jussie about that, she said, you know, that I still have the cards on my wall that the school kids sent me several years ago. And every day before I get out of bed, even when it's kind of hard to try to do that, I look at those cards and remember that I'm not alone. Some days I think it must feel to Jussie that she looks out at the world through the prison bars of an often broken body. But she keeps looking for things for which to be grateful, for the blessings woven in. And all of us who love her, we can't make it okay for her or for the others we love who struggle. None of us could fix everything that is wrong with the world, with our families, or with ourselves. But we can do our little part while keeping our eyes open for the ways that love is with us. Sometimes it sounds like kids cheering down the hallway, or looks like cards on the wall. But love is with us in the mix of it all.